1-yard line. Roethlisberger handing it off. This is Connor. He is in for a Steelers touchdown. It is Smith-Schuster who makes the catch.
What a catch.
Finds McDonald, and he takes it in for a Steelers touchdown.
Welcome back to another episode of the Steel Studio Podcast. We are on with Chad Schmock, our NFL expert. Chad, we're doing our second preview of the Titans, the upcoming Steelers-Titans matchup. What's changed since the last time that we talked about them?
So I think the biggest thing is they got a little bit more healthy. Taylor Lewan was their star left tackle. Unfortunately, towards ACL last week, he'll still be out. He was going to miss the first game, but they're going to get back Adoree Jackson, who's one of their top corners, and they're also going to get back Corey Davis, who's one of their better wide receivers. So they're just getting a little bit more healthy. They're going to have a little bit more options on the field this Sunday than they would have a few weeks back.
How good is this team, in your opinion? Are they really a 5-0 team?
I think they are. I think the big thing with them was that defense gonna come around. I still think that's a little bit of a question mark, but that offense is going to put up points, and that offense is going to be something they have to deal with. I'm really looking forward to seeing their dominant run offense against the Steelers' run defense. I think that's going to be a telling sign as to which way this game's going to go.
Hey, Chad, this is Rick.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Good, man. Hey, is Ryan Tannehill, is he the real deal? Can he beat you if you stop the run? And do they run a similar offense to the Browns?
I think Ryan Tannehill is – I think he can beat a lot of teams on his own. Can he beat the Steelers by himself? No. I think those upper echelon teams, I don't think he's going to go out there and win without a lot of help from Derrick Henry. But I do think he's a clear step above the quarterback that Baker Mayfield is. I don't think you'll see the mistakes from Tannehill that you potentially see from a Baker Mayfield-type quarterback.
They do a lot of play action like the Browns, right? Correct?
Yeah, they do some play action. He can throw the deep ball pretty well. I think he's got a little bit better deep ball than Mayfield, and his receivers find a little bit more ways of getting open. He's got bigger receivers, so a little bit more bigger and physical on the outside than really what the Browns are doing as well.
How big of a loss is Taylor Lewan, and how is the rest of their line looking as far as giving up pressures, and Steelers going to be able to get a lot of pressure on them, you think?
I think Taylor Lewan's a huge loss. I think he was a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, and the short answer is I think that's a great question. Their replacement, Ty Sabrelios, I think how you say his name, he had a decent game last week, but I don't know just the way that line comes together. I don't know how different it's going to be with Lewan. I think there could be the opportunity to get some pressure on the quarterback and also, really limit that run game with a little bit of a makeshift line going on this week.
Do they have any other major injuries or injuries you know of?
No, they really don't have anything huge aside from the Lewan injury.
Hey, Chad, can Derrick Henry keep this up? I mean, his workload is insane. The amount of carries, I think he's at 123 carries so far. Do you think he can keep that up? And can he keep, getting that yardage without getting injured, you think?
I do. I mean, he is a monster. I mean, he's a really big back, really big physical back. I think he can. How many more years of this we see, I think that's the big question. Running backs, once they hit that magical year of 30, time isn't on their side and they really start to regress. I think with him, the amount of hits that he's taken, 28, 29 will probably be that magic year for him, I think. But I think for the next couple years at least, I expect very big things from him.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of him, do you kind of know what kind of run scheme they use? Do they use like a zone-based run scheme? Do they run right up the middle?
So theirs is mostly a wide zone. So a lot of their stuff is going to be running outside of the tackles, and they use their wide receivers to block a lot. And their big thing is they want Henry to build up a head of steam and kind of turn that corner.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, speaking of their wide receivers, who are their top receivers?
A.J. Brown is their number one wide receiver. Just a really big, strong, fast kid. He can go over the middle for you, but he can also kind of go deep and catch that home run ball. He's also really big in the red zone with kind of the fade and the post to the goal post. And they have Corey Davis, who's another one. He's a top 5 pick. It was kind of a bust going into this year. He's starting to put it together a little bit more this year. Then they have Jonnu Smith, the tight end position. He left last week. I apologize. I didn't include this in the injuries. He left last week with an ankle injury. It looks like he's going to play, but he could be a little bit limited in what he does. But he's another athletic tight end that they like to get involved in the play action game.
We'll take care of that ankle. Don't worry. Hey, on to the defense. They lead the league with a +6 turnover rating. How they keep doing that? Is it the fumbles? Is it interceptions? That's interesting.
It's a little bit of both. They have a lot of guys around the line of scrimmage. Their corners are really aggressive in the pass game. They don't really have that premier edge rusher. I think they wanted that to be Jadeveon Clowney. It really hasn't been so far, but I think fumbles a little bit more, so they're really trying to knock that ball out up to the whistle. So I'd look for that a little bit in the running game.
And is that D-line good? Can you run on them?
I think you can. I mean, they have some talent up there. Jeffrey Simmons is, in my opinion, their best defensive lineman. He does a nice job, really strong against the run. But I think, it's something that you're going to have to stick to. If you get 2-3 yards 5-6 times, you can't abandon it. I think they need to really attempt to have some balance. And a lot of times in the second half, you can turn around and really run on them.
So what's the strength of their defense? It seems like it's, Malcolm Butler and Kenny Vaccaro, and it's the secondary. Would you agree with that, or do they have something in the middle there as well?
I would agree with that. The two people that you mentioned, Butler and Vaccaro, and then adding Adoree Jackson, who can just absolutely fly to that secondary, is just going to make that even more of a strength. Linebackers, they got a kid named Jayon Brown, who's 10-11 tackles a game. He's always around the line of scrimmage. Harold Landry is another linebacker for them that's around the line of scrimmage a lot. So I think kind of those two groups are probably what I would see as the biggest strength.
And Rashad Evans, the guy the Steelers really wanted.
Rashad, he's kind of taken a bit of a step back in my opinion this year, but he's still a very good player. I mean, he's coming out of Alabama, so he's going to be just a tactician and fundamentally very sound, and he handles the calls on that defense pretty well.
So, Chad, what kind of scheme do they run? Are they like they do a lot of cover 4, cover 3, zone, man?
So they kind of mix it up between, cover 3 and a more of a man. Mostly that the 3-4 look on the line. But they're a lot like Belichick is with the Patriots. It's a lot of a hybrid and more matchup based than anything.
Okay, and it is the number 2 ranked offense going against the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL. So, who do you think has the advantage?
Yeah, that's a great question. Leading up to this week, I was fully anticipating going with the Titans in a 1-score game, but I think that loss of Luan and just the fluidity of that offensive line, I think it's going to be a late score by the Steelers. It's going to be the difference. I think special teams is going to be critical here. The Titans, that kicking game with Stephen Gostkowski is just kind of a nightmare, and I think the Steelers are going to have a clear advantage there, and I look for that to be the difference in the game.
So are the Steelers your official prediction?
Yeah, I'm looking for either a made field goal by the Steelers late or a missed field goal late by the Titans is kind of what I'm thinking. But I see a very close 1-score game that's decided very late in the game.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, man. It's hard to predict. Really,
it's gonna be good football. I think sit down and get the popcorn ready and watch 2 really good football teams battle it out. I think it's gonna be great for everybody.
What do you think the loss of Bush does to the Steelers' defense?
I think it hurts. I've been studying up on the Steelers linebackers. I think they're thin there. I think it's going to put more pressure on the D-line to really get home more. I think you'll see more. I think you'll see Minkah Fitzpatrick in the box a little bit more than what he normally would be this week. That's kind of what I look for, is the use of safeties to kind of help in the run game with no Bush.
I mean, the guy that filled in, he did great, but I'm not sure he's Devin Bush, but he did well last week. But the game wasn't in hand, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing in a game that you're up 3 scores, I think, at the time that he went out. But I mean, he looked like a solid player, so I mean, he could be serviceable. But I think they'll have to get a little bit more exotic with those schemes over time.
Do you think they'll make a trade? And who, if they did make a trade, is there anybody in the NFL you think would be a trade candidate? Maybe Avery Williamson or someone like that, or anyone in mind?
I think it's tough. The asking prices, I think, are going to be astronomically high this year with the COVID and just trying to get some stuff back. But I think we'll get more of a clear picture. I would lean towards no right now. But I think, this game and then next week's going to be a real indicator. If they struggle a little bit, you could see them kind of try to step in and make some type of a trade for a linebacker.
Hey, Chad, as far as the AFC North goes, where do the Browns go from here?
That's a great question. I think the Browns' number one job from here on out for me is, do you have a franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield? I think you need to spend the rest of the year answering that question and kind of moving accordingly. I still think they're a fringe playoff team, but I think it opens some eyes. I think it's 78-6 or something is the combined score of the Baltimore and Pittsburgh games. So they've been outscored quite a lot against those two teams, who I see as really the only 2 playoff teams they've played. So I think it kind of tempered expectations, and I would just really spend this time evaluating your quarterback position and get plans in place to change that if you see fit.
You think they'll beat the Bengals this week?
I actually have the Bengals winning this game. I think that Bengals offense is really coming along. T. Higgins, receiver out of Clemson, is starting to really show some things. I think that's kind of my upset pick for the week. It's just with the Bengals, are they going to do enough defensively to keep them in a game over 4 quarters? They should have won last week. Their defense completely gave the game away, but they do enough defensively. I think they should win the game.
What about the Ravens? Are they still the team to beat, you think?
I don't. I think, the Steelers, I thought were very close, but I think they've kind of taken that next step to really make themselves the favorite. I think until Lamar Jackson shows up in the playoffs and has a good game, I think that's always going to be a question mark, and I think what you're going to get from that in the playoffs. So I think that's the big difference right now for me. That could change. We still got a lot of season to go, though.
We do, and that's what worries me with it only week 5 or 6, I don't want to peak too early. I would much rather Steelers lose a couple here.
That's the big thing. You got to peak at the right time.
But, hey, man, well, thanks a lot, Chad, as always, and another great preview, and let's hope for a great game again.
Let's hope so. Thanks, guys. Good luck this week.
Thanks.